What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Nolan TCG, and we are back here today for another deck profile, and this time it's for Dogmatika Invoked. So hopefully this deck will start to look a little bit cheaper in a couple of weeks, or actually it's been delayed, hasn't it? So about a month or two. Given the Megatins have been delayed, you will see a lot of the stuff from this being reprinted in there, as well as in stuff like Brothers of Legend. So hopefully this deck becomes significantly more budget if you've been considering messing around with it. So I figured may as well bring you guys a deck profile, given that you can then get prepared, get the kind of techie, side decky stuff, and yeah, overall just get ready for the deck once it does release. Of course, this deck does have a lot of originality that you can bring to it. You are essentially stuck playing two engines, but outside of that you can build it any way you wish, so it's always a fun thing to mess around with. But before we get started, as always, please remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people to the channel. And let's get on into this deck profile. Before we do get started on this one, though, it is brought to you, of course, by yourplaymat.com, who got us our beautiful Nolan TCG Extra Deck sleeves. These are available on yourplaymat.com, as well as you can get custom sleeves and custom playmats, so whatever you need for the current format. There is an affiliate link in the description down below that does get you a little bit of a discount on your order. Also, enter the code Nolan10YP for 10% off your order. Also kicks back a little bit to the channel, so everything will be very much appreciated. If you're shopping there, you're getting custom sleeves, custom playmats down. Make sure to enter our code at checkout. But let's get on into this deck profile. Okay, so starting us off, we are of course playing 3 copies of Ecclesia. Ecclesia is just your standard or normal or special summon, searches for your other Dogmatika stuff. Of course, when you control a monster from the extra deck, it can be special summoned. Then following that up, we're playing 2 copies of Fleur-de-Lis the Knighted. This is your negation. So if you have your Ecclesia on board, card summoned from the extra deck, you can smack down your Fleur-de-Lis and then negate the card. Of course, this does all happen in one action, so when you do reveal the card and activate it in hand, they have to respond then, because once it touches down, the monster is negated. Then lastly, we are playing 1 copy of Maximus still. Maximus can honestly probably come back into this deck in greater numbers, given that a lot of people aren't necessarily siding or setting up their extra deck for Dogmatika at the moment. So it always is something you can consider playing more of. If you did want to go like full consistency max out, you can consider playing like Desires in the build, increasing your Maximus and Fleur-de-Lis ratios and really just going hard on that. Does make the deck super consistent, but also does open you up to that hard counter that can kind of ruin your day. After that, we get into our Invoked package. Normal summon Alistair, Alistair Link 1, activate Invocation. You've got a Macabre. Been doing that for years. Especially Jake. You know you're watching this, Jake. I know you're watching this. Then we get into our Hand Trap lineup. Of course, this can always be changed to whatever you would like for your locals. I'm just playing 3 copies of Ash at the moment. 3 copies of Ash, of course, because it can get into your Purgatrio. And Purgatrio can pretty much just be game on itself sometimes. Then for my other hand trap option, I'm playing 3 copies of Gamma and 1 copy of Driver. Again, A, it's lights, and B, it removes the threat from the board, which can be important in most situations. Then we get into the last monsters. They're not essential. You can consider not playing this engine at all. We are playing a Dragoon, though, because sometimes you will have that additional resource on the next turn where your normal summon Alistair can turn into a hell of a lot more than just a Macabre. It can become a Macabre and a Dragoon, and that typically would mean that you've won the game. Okay, next off, after our Light deciding to just have a bit of a fallover, we get into our spell lineup. And of course, we are playing 3 more copies of Alistair in Magical Meltdown, along with a 7th copy of Alistair in a Terraforming. Of course, it's just more copies of Alistair, and Alistair just is control, I guess. It just stems into everything, or steamrolls into everything. Then after that, 2 copies of Invocation. You can consider bumping this up to 3 if you consider to play a Desires build. The Desires build of this is actually pretty fun, so I would recommend at least messing around with it at one point. Then we get into our more expensive spells. You do still have your 3 copies of Nadir Servant. I want to say Dogmatika Servant. If only, then it'd be searchable. However, yeah, 3 copies of Nadir. This makes the whole deck go around. Hopefully it will be relatively cheap once it gets a reprint. I say relatively cheap. It's not going to be like $5, but yeah, hopefully it's more accessible to the player base. Then for the rest of it, we have more cards that will hopefully be reprinted and bring down the value. 3 copies of Triple Tactics Talents. If you get your Alistair Ash, you can just activate Triple Talents. Draw your Invocation because you're a good invoked player. Then we have 3 copies of Droplets after that. Again, another hopefully expensive card that'll get a reprint. Could even see 2 reprints, and that'll make it pretty accessible. We do, of course, have the Droplet, the ultimate rare print of it, so then we'll have a lot of prints for it. Not all of them accessible, but hey. Then after that, my draw spell of choice, I've been messing around a little bit, and I've gone with a Pot of Prosperity. It just can find you essentially what you're looking for, either it be one engine or the other. And your extra deck isn't super tight, so you do have a little bit of wiggle room. Of course, if you're looking at a Desires build, you just cut this though. Then getting into the last of our spells, we've got one copy of Red Eyes Fusion, of course, for our ref package. Then into our traps, we've got 2 copies of Dogmatika Punishment and 1 copy of Shaddoll Schism. So for your punishments, of course, you always need to be careful when using them, because you will be locked out of extra deck summons on the next turn. And your Schisms, of course, just going to make a Winder. And then, like, some stuff just can't play through Winder. So why not just make a Winder and pass? Even though you make it on your opponent's turn, and that's the thing that really makes it unfair. Okay, next off we have the extra deck, and of course, it is 2 copies of Macabre, your standard negation that you're going to be hopefully making on every end board. Of course, Alistair just turns into this as long as you've got that light, but given that you can just link one into it, it's pretty much always going to be that light. Then we have 1 copy of Purgatrio. I'm not playing the Almirage link line to get into the Purgatrio because I've got Ash in the main deck. If I wasn't playing Ash in the main deck, you could consider playing the 1 copy of one Almirage and then 1 copy of Secure Gardener, because that then gets you your light and your fire targets for your Purg and your Macabre. Then for the rest of the fusions, I am playing 1 Raging. I don't have access to a Wind in this deck, so that is something you can consider cutting. Again, that is the reason why I'm playing Prosperity. There is room to be able to banish some stuff out of this extra deck. Then after this, we've got 1 copy of Aguadis. This is just for getting your pops off. Does really control the board at some points, so something good to keep in mind. Then for the rest of our stuff, we've got 1 copy of Titaniclad the Ash Dragon. You're going to send this off Nadir sometimes, and then it gets you that Surge and End Phase, helps you set up the Fleur de Lis play. 1 copy of Winder, and 1 copy of App Cologne, because of course the App Cologne gets you to the Winder. You're going to send the App Cologne, search the Schism, and then you're going to get it back with the Winder. We're not playing a copy of Construct. That is something you can look at though for a bit of extra recursion. Then we have 1 copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, because we are playing the Dragoon line, kind of needed. And then we have some pop targets. So we've got 2 copies of Entis to be able to pop our opponent's cards when we activate stuff like Nadir. Then for Synchros, we're playing 1 copy of Omega, because it can get you some recursion going. And 1 copy of Wind Pegasus Adignista, because again, it's removal in the same way that Entis is. Then for our link line, this is what rounds us out. We've got 1 copy of Artemis, because this is what your Alistair is going to turn into. And we have 1 copy of Predaplant Verte Anaconda, because this is what's going to make your Dragoon. But that wraps up here for the deck profile for this one. So as always, if you do have any recommendations or things you would change, do make sure to comment them down below. If you are interested on picking up Invoked, well not Invoked, that side's not getting reprinted. It's the Dogmatika side that'll get reprinted. Yeah, do look out for that in the Megatins. As well as, I believe, Brothers of Legend's going to have stuff like droplets in that as well. So we might see a double reprint of some things. But as always, I've been Ben from Nolan TCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.